You know that feeling when you watch a horror movie and think, thank God that's not real? Yeah, well, sometimes reality is so much worse than fiction. In February 2016, South Australia, two young women covered in blood, one naked and screaming, stumbling out of the sand dunes onto a remote beach. Fishermen finding them and initially not even sure if one of them was male or female because she was so drenched in blood. A four-wheel drive stuck in the dunes, with blood spattered all over the roof, and inside that vehicle, a 6'6" monster of a man who just tried to murder them both. This is the Salt Creek case, and trust me, it's going to make your skin crawl. Let me introduce you to our heroes, Lena Rabente from Germany and Beatrice from Brazil. Both 23 years old, both on their first solo backpacking trip through Australia. They met in Adelaide in early February 2016 and instantly clicked. You know that backpacker thing where you meet someone and within 5 minutes you're planning your entire trip together? That was them. They had the same destination in mind, Melbourne. The plan was to cruise down the Great Ocean Road, see some sights, live that backpacker dream. But they needed a ride, and this is where things start to go sideways. So they hop on Gumtree, basically Australia's version of Craigslist for ride shares. Perfect for budget travellers, super popular with backpackers. They got 2 responses. The first guy seemed cool, around their age, but then, plot twist, his car breaks down at the last minute. No ride. That left them with their second option, Roman Heinze. Now, Lena actually had some reservations about this dude from the start. He was 61 years old, which, okay, not necessarily a red flag, but he was aggressive in his messages, like double texting them if they didn't respond fast enough. Are you coming or not type energy. Impatient, pushy. But here's the thing, and this is important, Lena figured she'd be safe because Beatrice would be with her. Safety in numbers, right? Before we go any further, let's talk about who Roman Heinze actually was, because this wasn't some random crime of opportunity. This was a predator who'd been hunting for years. Roman Heinze was born in Germany in 1955 and emigrated to Australia with his family when he was just 4 years old. Grew up to be a chef, got married twice, had 5 kids. On paper, pretty normal life. But underneath, this guy was a ticking time bomb. Standing at 198 centimeters, that's 6 feet 6 inches for us Americans, Heinze was physically imposing. But here's where it gets really dark. By the time he picked up Lena and Beatrice, he was already a known sexual predator. Get this, he was under a bail agreement that specifically banned him from contacting women through Gumtree. Let me say that again, he was legally prohibited from doing the exact thing he was doing. He'd already assaulted other women. He'd already been caught. And the system just let him keep hunting. Between September 2014 and February 2016, that's just 17 months, Roman Heinze contacted 15 different backpackers through Gumtree's rideshare section. 15. Lena and Beatrice were numbers 14 and 15. And here's the kicker. Just a week before he picked up these 2 women, he'd tied up his own girlfriend while she was sleeping and sexually assaulted her. When he was done, he just rolled over like nothing had happened and announced they were going on a beach trip together. She refused, so he went hunting for new victims instead. The escalation pattern was clear. In 2014, he'd indecently assaulted another backpacker he'd picked up for an interstate ride. He got caught, got a slap on the wrist, and kept going. He assaulted a 4th woman that same year and breached his bond, and nobody stopped him. So February 9th, 2016. Heinze picks up Lena and Beatrice in Adelaide. At first, everything seems fine. I mean, awkward maybe, but not dangerous. The women even took pictures and videos inside his car. They were documenting their adventure, totally unaware they were riding with a predator who'd been planning this for weeks. But then Heinze announces a detour. He wants to stop at Salt Creek. Now, if you don't know Salt Creek, let me paint you a picture. It's part of the Coorong National Park in South Australia, about 200 kilometres south of Adelaide. It's remote, like middle of nowhere remote, sand dunes stretching for miles. The nearest person could be hundreds of miles away, no cell service, no witnesses. The women didn't want to stop, they wanted to get to Melbourne, but they went along with it anyway because what else are you going to do when you're in someone's car in the middle of nowhere? Heinze drives them deep into the dunes and sets up camp on this completely deserted beach. And I mean deserted, not a soul in sight. Just sand, sky, and an increasingly uncomfortable vibe. Lena's tired from the drive, so she decides to take a nap in the four-wheel drive while Heinze and Beatrice set up camp outside. And this is where Heinze makes his move. He tells Beatrice, "Hey, I saw some kangaroos over by those dunes. Want to go take some pictures?" Beatrice, being a tourist who came to Australia to see wildlife, is like, "Hell yeah, kangaroos!" So she follows him. They walk away from the campsite, away from Lena, away from any help. And of course, there are no kangaroos. Heinze had brought a knife, a hammer, rope. He'd planned this whole thing. Once they're far enough away, Heinze grabs Beatrice and throws her to the ground. Remember, this dude is 6 feet 6 inches, and Beatrice is 5 feet 4 inches at most. She doesn't stand a chance in a physical fight. He ties her hands and feet together with rope, pulls out the knife, stabs it into the sand next to her head, as a threat, and then cuts her bikini off her body with that knife. Beatrice is thinking she's going to die. She literally said later, "I imagined my mum coming there to see my body. I thought it was really unlikely for me to survive." But while she's terrified, she's also thinking she knows she can't fight him physically, so she plays along. She tries to buy time. When he tells her to kiss him back, she makes excuses. "My hands are tied. They're so sore I can't." She's calculating, trying to find any angle to survive. And then he sexually assaults her. Right there on the beach with a knife stuck in the sand beside her, this monster violates her. But Beatrice is smart. She convinces him that if he takes her back to the campsite, she'll cooperate. She'll do whatever he wants. Anything to get back near Lena, back near the car, back near something that might help her escape. Meanwhile, Lena wakes up from her nap to the scream of someone really in danger. Her words. She runs out of the car and sees Heinze on top of Beatrice's naked body. Now, here's where Lena becomes an absolute legend. She doesn't know Heinze has weapons. She just sees her friend being attacked, and she feels pure rage, pure fury. She starts yelling at him, ordering this massive man to get away from Beatrice. And Heinze? He switches targets. Lena runs back to the car, trying to find her phone to call for help. She's desperately searching through bags, and that's when Heinze comes up behind her with a hammer and smashes her in the head, not once, 3 times. Can you imagine? The sound alone. The crack of a hammer hitting skull. Blood starts pouring down Lena's face. We're talking profuse bleeding, covering her from head to toe. But here's the thing about Lena. She's got this insane survival instinct. Despite bleeding everywhere, despite being dazed from 3 hammer blows to the head, she somehow manages to run away from Heinze and make it to Beatrice. She unties her friend. They're both bloodied, both terrified. But they're together now. And they make a split-second decision that probably saved both their lives. They split up. Beatrice goes right, hiding in some nearby bushes. Lena goes left, into the open dunes. This is where things go from horrific to absolutely insane. Heinze jumps into his 4-wheel drive and goes after Lena, and I mean, he hunts her. Picture this. A bleeding 23-year-old woman running through sand dunes in the scorching Australian heat, and a 6 6-inch psychopath chasing her down in a 4-wheel drive vehicle, trying to run her over. He rams her with the bull bar. She goes down. She gets back up. He rams her again. She goes down. She gets back up. 4 times. He hit her 4 times with that vehicle. At one point, he drove right over her. The tires passed on either side of her body as she lay in the sand. And every single time, Lena got back up. Think about that for a second. 3 hammer blows to the head, run over 4 times by a 4WD, and this woman keeps getting up. She's running in zigzags trying to lose him, but he stays on her tail. She realizes she can't outrun a car. So you know what she does? She does something so crazy, so brilliant, it sounds like it's from a movie. She runs at the car, jumps onto the bonnet, and climbs onto the roof. I'm not kidding. While he's trying to murder her, while she's covered in blood, Lena Rabente climbs onto the roof of the moving vehicle and holds on for dear life. Now Heinze is furious. He's trying to shake her off, driving maniacally through the dunes, doing everything he can to dislodge her. But Lena is holding onto an antenna on the roof, just clinging there, and she's thinking. Always thinking. She convinces him, while she's on the roof of his murder mobile, to throw away his weapons. She negotiates with this psycho. I'll come down if you throw away your weapons. And somehow, in his twisted logic, he agrees. She's buying time. She's staying alive and covered in blood. Meanwhile, Beatrice has been hiding in the bushes, terrified that Heinze will come back for her, but finally she sees a car in the distance, a family driving through. She runs out onto the road, naked, screaming, waving her arms. The family sees a naked woman running at them, and they're confused at first. But once Beatrice gets in the car and starts screaming about what happened, about Lena still being out there, they understand. These people are heroes too. They immediately start searching for Lena. On the other side of the dunes, Lena finally climbs down from the roof of Heinze's vehicle. She'd made her deal with him, but she doesn't trust it for a second. The moment her feet hit the ground, she runs. She runs for nearly a kilometre through the dunes and makes it to the beach, where a group of young Victorian fishermen are just having a normal day. And then this woman, covered in blood from head to toe, hair matted, bleeding from 4 deep lacerations on her skull, comes stumbling toward them. One of the fishermen, Jack Dowson, said she was just in horrible shape. Her hair was matted, blood everywhere. They initially couldn't even tell if she was male or female. That's how much blood there was. The fishermen immediately help her. They call police. And incredibly, Beatrice's rescuers find them. The 2 women are reunited, both alive. Want to know what happened to Heinze? His 4-wheel drive got stuck in the sand dunes. After all that horror, after all that violence, this monster's car just got stuck. And that's where police found him, just sitting there in his vehicle, surrounded by blood-spattered everything. The knife, hammer and ropes he'd used were never recovered. He must have ditched them somewhere in the dunes. But the evidence was overwhelming. Blood all over his car, 2 traumatized victims, and a clear pattern of predatory behaviour. The trial was held in South Australia's Supreme Court in March 2017. Heinze was charged with 6 offences: indecent assault, aggravated kidnapping, endangering life, causing harm with intent to cause harm, multiple assault charges. And during the trial, the full extent of his predatory behaviour came out. Those 15 backpackers he'd contacted, the previous assaults, the bail conditions he'd violated, the escalating pattern of violence. His defence lawyer, Bill Bucco, tried to claim there were odd features of the case. Like, where were the weapons? Why couldn't they find the knife and hammer? As if that somehow created reasonable doubt. But come on, the dude ditched them. It's not exactly brain surgery. The Brazilian woman gave testimony about the assault. The fisherman testified. DNA experts testified. The evidence was overwhelming. But the most powerful moment came during sentencing, when Lena gave a recorded statement directly to Heinze. "You could not win even when you tried so hard, first by hitting me on the head with the hammer, then by driving over me with your car. You could not make me your victim because I am a survivor." She went on. "Every day I see where the ropes cut into me. I feel fear even when I smell cigarette smoke." Roman smoked. The judge, Justice Trish Kelly, didn't hold back either. She called Heinze utterly depraved, and said his actions were somewhat primitive, and showed he lacked any moral compass whatsoever. "Even though you have presented as a docile and at times rather pathetic character sitting in the dock over these past months, it's obvious you are a man with a very strong anger management issue," Justice Kelly said. She continued, "That is not the conduct of a civilized human being, but an enraged and somewhat primitive man lacking any moral compass whatsoever." On May 17, 2017, Roman Heinze was sentenced to 22 years and 4 months in prison, with a non-parole period of 17 years. He's currently still locked up where he belongs. Here's what kills me about this case. Justice Kelly had to issue a warning about using the internet for ride shares. She specifically said, "Safety does not necessarily come in numbers." And she's right. Lena thought she'd be safe because Beatrice was with her. But Heinze had planned for that. He'd contacted 15 backpackers. He knew what he was doing. But let's talk about the real story here. The absolute warriors that are Lena Rabente and Beatrice. After the trial, after the sentencing, they chose to lift the suppression orders on their identities. They wanted to tell their story. They did a paid interview with 60 Minutes Australia, and they used that platform to show the world that they weren't victims. They were survivors. Beatrice said she still suffers from PTSD. She doesn't like being outside after sunset. But she also said about Heinze being locked up. "He is a sick person. I'm happy that he won't harm other people, so I'm happy. That's it." Lena talks about finding strength she didn't know she had. I found out about myself that I'm able to do something like that in a really difficult situation. And incredibly, they both still love to travel. They haven't let this monster take that from them. They're bonded forever now. Beatrice says, "She saved my life," about Lena. And Lena fought like hell for both of them. Here's something creepy. Before Lena went to Australia, she watched the horror movie Wolf Creek with a friend. For those who don't know, Wolf Creek is an Australian horror film based on real Australian backpacker murders. Specifically, the Ivan Milat killings, where 7 backpackers were murdered in the early 90s. Lena joked with her friend, this would never actually happen. And then she lived through something that the media would literally call Australia's real-life Wolf Creek. The parallels are horrifying. Remote location, predator posing as helpful local, brutal violence against young travellers. It's the nightmare that Australian tourism tries to pretend doesn't exist, but it does. It's rare, thankfully, but it does. But here's what really pisses me off about this case. It should never have happened. Roman Heinze was a known predator. He'd assaulted women before. He was under a bail agreement that specifically banned him from contacting women through Gumtree. And yet there he was, trolling for victims on Gumtree again. How? How did the system fail so spectacularly? He'd escalated from indecent assault in 2014 to full-blown attempted murder in 2016. That's a classic predator escalation pattern, and anyone with any training in criminal psychology could have seen it coming. His own father, Werner Heinze, said he was shocked by his son's crimes, but also admitted he has an aggressive, disrespectful, and nasty character. His 87-year-old dad told reporters, "I'm 87 years old, and this is the worst day of my life. He should pay for it. Jail is where he needs to be." Even his own family knew something was wrong. The prosecutor, Jim Pierce, specifically noted that Heinze's offences had escalated over time and that community protection should be paramount in sentencing. But the real question is, why was he out there in the first place? Why wasn't he being monitored more closely after his previous offences? Look, I don't want to end this on a completely dark note, so let's talk about what we can learn from Lena and Beatrice's survival. 1. Trust your instincts. Lena had reservations about Heinze from the start. He was too pushy, too aggressive. She ignored those instincts because she thought being with Beatrice would keep her safe. Listen to that little voice. 2. Fight back. Both women fought. Beatrice used her brain to manipulate Heinze and buy time. Lena used physical resistance. Even when it seemed impossible, she kept getting up. Their resistance saved their lives. 3. Separate when being chased. Their decision to split up when Heinze came after them with the car was tactical genius. It forced him to choose, and it meant at least one of them could escape to get help. 4. Never give up. Lena got hit with a hammer 3 times and run over 4 times, and she still found the strength to climb onto that car roof and negotiate with her attacker. That's pure survival instinct. 5. Travel smart. Use verified rideshare apps, not classified ads. Tell people your travel plans. Check in regularly. Be aware of your surroundings. But here's the real lesson. Predators are out there, and they're good at hiding. Heinze seemed like a normal guy offering a ride. He didn't have serial killer tattooed on his forehead. He was a chef, a father, someone's neighbor, and he was hunting women the whole time. Roman Heinze is currently serving his sentence. He actually had the audacity to appeal his conviction and sentence, which was opposed by the victim's counsel. But his appeal went nowhere. He's locked up, and he'll be eligible for parole in 2033 at the earliest, when he'll be 78 years old. His family has said he's been harassing them from prison, trying to raise money for more appeals. Even behind bars, he's still trying to manipulate people. As for Lena and Beatrice, they're living their lives. They've moved forward. They told their story not just for the money from that interview, but because they wanted other backpackers to be aware, to be careful, to know that this kind of thing can happen even when you think you're safe. They wanted to show that you can survive the unsurvivable, that you can fight back against monsters, that you can face down death and come out the other side stronger. The Salt Creek case is terrifying because it's not just about one psychopath. It's about how close evil can come to destroying innocent lives, and how the human spirit can be absolutely unbreakable even in the darkest moments. Lena and Beatrice should have died that day on Salt Creek. By all accounts, that was Heinz's plan. He'd hunted for victims, he'd planned his attack, he'd taken them to the middle of nowhere where no one could hear them scream. But they didn't die. They fought. They survived. They refused to be victims. And now their story stands as a testament to human resilience, to the power of refusing to give up even when everything seems hopeless. Roman Heinz wanted to destroy them. Instead, they destroyed him. He'll die in prison, forgotten and reviled. And they'll keep living, keep traveling, keep showing the world that evil doesn't get the last word. That's the real story of Salt Creek. Not a monster's rampage, but two women's refusal to let that monster win. Stay safe out there, everyone. Trust your instincts. Travel smart. And remember, if you ever find yourself in a nightmare situation, fight back. You're stronger than you know.